Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome one and all to this our inaugural town hall meeting of the Healthcare Social Workers Association of Jamaica. My name is Paul Smith, and I will be the moderator for today's activity, and I'm also the president of the association. It is so good to have those who have joined us so far. It's good to have our guests, and we're still awaiting others to join us. But we welcome those who have made it possible to be on time, and we look forward to an awesome day as we look on the theme, domestic violence, intensifying the conversation. It is our desire that this conversation will not die, it will live on, it will bear fruits. There are things that will actually, action plans that we can put in place to minimize this incident and to be aware of how prevalent it is in our society. Our hearts are moved, with all the things that we have been seeing and hearing. And as an association, we want to add our voice to the conversation. And so we are indeed delighted that today we have some able guests who will be able to, dissect the issues, look at it from their vantage points, and we hope that indeed all will benefit from the richness that is ahead for this discussion. So we are going to begin with our invocation, and to do that invocation to us at this time is Mrs. Ruby Melville, and she is our chaplain. Over to you, Mrs. Melville.
Very pleasant good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
It has been a beautiful morning, and without God, we would not be up and be together in this fashion. We are very happy to be here, and we are pleased for this webinar, and I trust that as we go through, God will just lead us. Today, I just want to say to you, we know the Lord, and we know that He cares for us. And whatever we do, we must put Him first. And so I just want to say to all of us that in everything that we do, let us remember that it's not of ourselves, but it is of God who has been leading us. And so I wish everybody a pleasant day. And I want us to remember that now with Christ in the vessel, we can smile at the storm. So in spite of all that is happening to all of us, and we may have heard a lot of things in other parts of the world, it is still one God, and He leads us into the path of righteousness. So with that, I crave your indulgence as we pray just now. Let us pray, everyone. Father in heaven, we thank you for this beautiful morning. We thank you for your mercies, and we thank you for your grace. We thank you for the ability where we could come together in this fashion. The world has changed, and here we are. Wherever we are located, we are able to come together to see each other and to talk, to reason. And the position that we are in as social workers, our desire is to reach the world, help people, each one, reach one. And so by the grace of God, let us believe that with Christ in the vessel, we can smile at the storm. And so may the grace of God be with us as we continue to worship and to reach people in the mighty name of Jesus. And everybody say, amen. Amen. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Melville. And I was waiting for more, but thank you so much. You have been awesome as per usual. All right, so others have been joining us, and I just want to make it known that we are live on YouTube, and we are using the Zoom platform as well. We anticipate a wide cross-section of persons to be in the conversation today, and I know that it will be something that as an association we'll continue to speak about, will continue to communicate with the nation, as we too need to be a part of the solution. So thank you so much, Mrs. Melville. And I'm going to make our guest welcome. I hope I have all the guests right now. But Inspector Pete, she has been on the ball. She has been early. And, I look forward to hearing from her. And I'll tell you more about her in a little while. But welcome, Inspector Pete. It's always a pleasure to have you on this platform. And we look forward to your contribution today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. And also on the platform, we have a domestic abuse survivor. And she's not a victim by any means of the imagination. She is a survivor, and she is Loy Renee Letts. Welcome, Loy.
Thank you.
Yes, and Loy has been empowered to tell others her story and to empower others who might be in similar position. And, I commend her. I reached out to her some days ago, and she did not hesitate at all. I heard her on a previous platform, and she was awesome. And I thought it fit that we could benefit from what she has to say today. So thank you again, Lloyd, for actually consenting to be on this platform. We are expecting a representative from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. I'm not sure if Miss Joanna James, if she's on us yet. If not, we are still expecting her to join us. So she will be coming from the Bureau of Gender Affairs, right? And then we also should be having a representative from the Crisis Center. I've not seen her yet, but we're hoping that they both will join us soon so we can have the multi-layered approach as it relates to this conversation. All right, so welcome again, everyone. And of course, your participation is going to be key. Each member of the panel will just give an overview, on domestic violence / abuse, and let us know, the roles and functions of your agency or department, in fighting this monster that we call domestic abuse. And of course, those who are on the platform, you'll be allowed to give your comments. You can type it in the chat, or you can use the hand raising device, and you can let me know when you have a question or when you have a comment, because everybody's input will be extremely important in the conversation today, right? So persons will be able to feed questions to our panelists, and Ms. Marsha will be our host. So she will assist me as well in letting me know what is on the platform in terms of questions, concerns, or comments, right? So we actually believe in time, and so if you don't mind, Inspector, I will call on you. And I know that you have much to share. I'm almost sure you have statistics to share with us, but I won't set you up, but would love for you just to start the ball rolling. Just tell us what you need to tell us about domestic abuse from your vantage point. Welcome, Inspector. And Inspector Pete is from Area 3 Police Division. And I'm sure, Inspector, that it must be Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Elizabeth, or am I wrong? Is it Manchester and St. Elizabeth?
And Clarendon, you were correct the first time.
So it was correct the first time. All right, thank you so much. Right, so she is in charge of this police division. And so we're going to hear from Inspector Pete at this time.
All right, Area 3 is actually the headquarters office for these divisions, and I am the training officer.
Okay.
I'm actually representing ACP Smith.
Oh, awesome name, awesome surname.
Almost so. He is our assistant commissioner.
Okay.
He's Area 3.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right. So domestic violence, a very topical issue, one that is troubling, worrisome, as you had said before, one that we wish was not happening, but it is worldwide, and the fight continues. And one of the real focus is to get persons to actually identify persons who might be abuser or the victim, and to do something about it. The quietness is one of the things that allows it to explore, to get out of hand. And as one of our superintendent in charge of crime, Mr. Chris Brown, had said in numerous meetings that we need to measure in the minor. And that's one of the steps we take at Area 3 to ensure that we beat down on domestic violence. And measuring in the minor means that whatever comes to us in terms of disputes, we channel that, we meet up with the complainant, we try to get from it what is happening. Is it in the school? Is it in the home? Wherever it is, we need to find out. It might be simple, but it will prevent from becoming a major incident. We do interventions through the community safety branch. And of course, all stations do community work. So throughout these 3 divisions, we try our best to enable persons to deal with such report. When persons come in, you may come in as the victim, but we need to see if for sure you are the abuser, because you might be the first one to get to the station to make that report. So we have to look at all sides. We try to speak to persons. We encourage you to submit your statement, to make your report, take it to court. We train. So the persons who are at the station, the reception area, who may be in the position to meet this person as the first step into making such a report. They are trained to encourage these persons to make the report, to reduce the fear that they may have, because oftentimes it's the fear why persons are not coming forward. Whatever they are being told, they are the victim and they believe it. So the training that we do, as recent as Tuesday, we have approximately 40 persons who were trained in domestic violence intervention, and it spreads over Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, and Manchester. These persons were taught how to recognize, how to respond, the reference that they can make, who they should refer persons to, all the steps to take for these persons to not be fearful, to reduce the level of fear in order to leave that situation. And we have, in our situation, we have seen men, and they have also reporting, we have breakdown of the number of male reports, the number of female, and the area, the station area that has the most report. So we are better able to zero in on the communities that has the major amount of the most reports. And that has been working for us. We also try to form the close bond with our stakeholders. So there are churches, community groups, social worker, the mental health nurses are great, because some of these situations are really mental, we find, and they do come in and do their part. So it's really, there's a reduction per se. As you said, I will have stats. Yes, there are some statistics which I will provide as well. But we find that of all the 3 divisions, only one saw an increase for last year, January to May, last year this time. We find that only one had an increase. And we're looking into the reason for that increase. And as also where we have decreased, we have to look as well, because is it a case where persons are not coming in to report? You know, something might be happening. So we are looking at both. And starting with the stats for training. As I said, on Tuesday, 38 persons were trained, sensitized, that's throughout the division. We had a domestic violence intervention that was in August 2018, where 39 persons were trained. And in 2016, we had a training where 42 throughout the division. And this training is not only in groups. We have briefing, debriefing, lectures. All these are training, because at each briefing where persons are going out, you're trained to look at what is happening, how to deal with these response. One of the things we try to encourage persons to do is that when reports are made and you get a statement, if the victim comes back to say, listen, I do not want to go any further, once you have that statement, prepare it, take it to the court, encourage this person to go in front of the judge. Let the judge decide if you should go further. And if the judge decide that, yes, let her, you know, she doesn't want to go any further, take a statement. So we encourage that statement to be done in court. So at least you get your day in court, talk to the judge, and there might be other intervention coming from the judge that can help you and give you that strength to go forward. So yes, it continues in terms of what we do for domestic disputes and violence. And as I mentioned, dispute, some simple dispute is what really lead to the violence. So we really look at the minor stuff and make them major before they actually turn into very serious situation.
Thank you, Inspector. You have whet our appetite, and I am sure we have much more to gain from you, from your experience and your expertise in the field. But thank you so much for that introduction. We really appreciate it. So it is said that, before we get on to our other guests, it is said that according to the United Nations, that domestic abuse or domestic violence, as it's sometimes called, is a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner in some cases. Abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological. It can be threats of actions that influence another person, right? This may include behaviors that might frighten, intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, blame, injure, or wound someone. And I must declare that domestic violence can happen to anyone, any race, any age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender, right? So it affects all facets of society. And so we want to thank Inspector again for opening for us. And we also have on board at this time, Ms. Joanne James, and she's the representative from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. Ms. James, good morning. Can you hear me, Ms. James? All right, while we await her to join us, I want to go over to Loy Renee. Hi, Loy.
Can you hear me now? There we go.
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear. All right, so I just want you to tell us, Loy, just give us what you understand to be, from your vantage point, what you understand to be domestic abuse. Well, just probably give an overall as to what your story is.
Okay, no problem. Domestic abuse or domestic violence, from my point of view, is, as you said, the means that a person uses to manipulate, control, or consistently hurt someone. It can be in a work setting, in an intimate relationship, parent-child setting, schools, and even just friendships, and even in just general friendships. So, so that is, so what happens is that the abuser uses a various, they have a number of ways to hurt or control or manipulate their victims, as I said, financially, sexually, emotionally. And what usually happens, what sometimes happens, is that the victim becomes trauma bonded to the abuser, and the cycle continues. The abuse cycle continues, sorry. The abuse cycle continues. So in my case, I mean, I've experienced various different forms of it over years and years. It affects you physically and emotionally and spiritually as well. What happens when someone is abused is their brain basically changes. It affects the physical and electronic components of their brain. So your brain functions differently, and that can result in that person becoming an abuser as well.
I wanted to say hi.
She wants to say hello.
Well, hello. Right. All right. So we'll get back to you shortly, Lloyd. Thank you for your opening statements. We really appreciate it. All right. So let me welcome on board Miss James. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about
Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on, and we look forward to your contribution.
Sure.
So I just want you to give us an overview as to, you know, what your department / agency is about as it relates to domestic abuse.
Okay. Could you give me the opportunity to share my screen?
All right, Miss Wilby, will you allow her to share a screen, please?
Hold on.
All right, so while that is happening, all right. I think, all right, I go ahead, Miss
James, you are the host now, so you can.
Right, right. Good morning again, everyone. I am Miss Johnny James. I'm a social worker at the Bureau of Gender Affairs. So the Bureau of Gender Affairs, we are located at 529 South Oden Avenue, Kingston 10, that is facing the Transport Center. As well as we were first established as the national machinery in the Caribbean in 1972, where we were a special committee that would advise the government on integrating women into national development. The Bureau of Gender Affairs, we are a division within the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport. We are one arm of the Gender Division along with the Women's Center. So we at the Bureau, we are guided by our 4 guiding principles for National Policy for Gender Equality, and it says gender equality and social justice for all. Political leadership and commitment. We need political leadership and commitment in regards to policies and creating legislations. We also need a multi-sectoral approach and partnership from various stakeholders. which includes civil society, private sector, public sector, MDAs as well. We also need a participation approach with the average Jamaican, you know, the rural woman, to give us their feedback on how we can improve gender equality in our country. So we were formerly known as the Bureau of Women's Affairs. However, on March 21st, 2016, Cabinet rebranded us and we're now called the Bureau of Gender Affairs. So simply put, we're all about gender equality. We're all about empowering our men to have a seat at the table, as well as empowering our women to have a seat at the table as well. So in order to understand the concept of domestic violence, we must first define the concept of gender-based violence. So gender-based violence is any violent act that is directed at someone because of their sex, gender, that result in physical, sexual, or psychosocial harm or suffering. And we know our sex is defined as what is biologically determined for a man and a woman. And our gender would be basically defining the roles that we play, the role the man play, as well as the roles the woman play in society. So gender-based violence is a behavior that is intentionally harmful, discriminative, and takes many forms or may involve real or perceived power imbalance. So simply put, it's violence involving men and women. Females are most times the victim, however, males can be victims and males are victims of gender-based violence. So it's all about an equal power relation. Somebody have the power and they're taking advantage of the other person. So there are various forms of gender-based violence. There's trafficking person, which is human trafficking. There's neglect. There's bullying, sexual harassment. There's also domestic violence, rape, and incest. So I have some few statistics on GBV. So internationally, 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced either physical or sexual abuse by their intimate partner or non-intimate partner in their lifetime. 1/3 of women ages 15 to 49 years in Jamaica have experienced have been in relationship that has involved some form of abuse. 1 in 5 men, that is internationally, will experience some form of gender-based violence. 1 in 4 women in Jamaica will experience physical and sexual abuse by their intimate partner or their non-intimate partner in their lifetime. 16.9% of adolescent girls from ages 15 to 19 years agrees that if a man beats his wife for neglecting a child, that is the case. That a man should beat his wife if she neglects the child. The UN declared that Jamaica is the second biggest murder of women, something that is called femicide. Women who enter into younger partner relationship have a high prevalence of intimate partner violence, as well as the flip side, women under 19 years who enter into living partner relationship also may experience intimate partner violence. So domestic violence. Domestic violence is defined as family violence, and it's violence that occurs between these 3 means: persons who are related to intimacy, blood, or law. It can impact directly as well as it can impact indirectly. Domestic violence is one source of violence in Jamaica which results in deaths. And we can see from the caption at both ends of the screen where the woman is being the aggressor and the man is being aggressor. So it's impacting them directly, and the child indirectly is seeing the violence. So there are different types. There's intimate partner violence or spousal abuse. There's sibling abuse, there's child abuse, there's elder abuse. The sibling abuse, where most common sibling abuse, it starts from an early age. So the brother and the sister constantly fighting, but this fighting escalates as they get into adult years. So they start to fight over land that the parents has left and so forth. Child abuse, we all know what child abuse is. Child abuse is in regards to maltreatment of a child. Elder abuse varies from various. It can vary from the child and neglecting their parents, as well as the caretaker can abuse the elder as well. So intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence or spousal abuse is described as any violence that occurs sexually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, or financially by an intimate partner or a spouse. And it also can also be by an ex-intimate partner as well. So ex-boyfriend or ex-husband. So there are different forms of abuse. There's physical, sexual, verbal, financial. When you think about physical, we're talking about intentionally forcing or causing bodily harms to one's body. So it can be in form of beating, kicking, biting, burning. You can tie up the person as well, whipping, beating the person as well. Sexual abuse, forcing someone into unwanted sexual practices. So that can be in the form of rape, or you see your friend engaging in other sexual activity, you know, your friend engaging in the 50 Shades of Grey, so they're doing the tying up thing, and you decide that, oh, you know, you want your partner to be involved in something like that, but your partner not willing to do anything like that, so you force your partner into doing it. So that is called sexual abuse. If your partner wants to do it, perfectly normal, but once there is some form of force, then it will consider as abuse. So verbal abuse, someone insulting you, you're lowering your self-esteem, your self-worth in public or in private. Financial abuse, one partner refuses to work and or also wants to control the other partner finances, in the sense that one partner goes out to work and he wants to be the one who is in control of everything and the other person does not have access to their money. That's considered as financial abuse, as well as one neglecting the family needs. That is can also be considered as financial abuse. So you put a burden on one partner to do everything and you see you're not contributing to the family, and that is also considered as financial abuse as well. So domestic violence is something that is called the cycle of abuse. And sometimes persons say, oh, why they don't leave the person? She know I'm going to do it again and so forth. But it's something that's called the cycle of abuse. And not everybody has finally completed the cycle to let go of the individual. So the first cycle where this tension building. So John goes out to work and, you know, it's COVID time now. So his boss said, you know what, I need to cut back on staff and so forth. So John called his wife and say, oh, honey, you know that I just lost my job. I don't know what you're going to do. And his wife would say, don't worry, man. Everything will work out fine and so forth. So John is on his way home. Normally, Mary will prepare his meals. And for some issue today, you know, John said, boy, I don't have any money to give Mary now. And I don't know, you know, what am I going to do and so forth. And John sees Mary talking to the neighbor and she laughing with the neighbor, and not even realize John is there. John comes home, no dinner is prepared, and he sees Mary outside and Mary's there talking to the neighbor, and he's looking at the time and said, by now Mary should know that I should have been home, you know, and my meal should have been prepared and so forth. So he stays out, Mary stays out there talking, and she not even realize that John is here. So Mary finally decides to come in and she sees John, and the first thing to say, oh, honey, you know what happened today? The JPS man came and they wanted to cut off the light and we have the end of the sea. And she started to tell John about all the bills. And in John's mind, he was like, wondering what Mary's saying to that young man out there, why they're laughing. And what are they talking about so long? To the fact that she neglects to cook my dinner. And John says to Mary, Mary, where's the food? And she said, oh my God, I totally forgot about it. And so everything started to play in John's mind. Lost the job, Mary talking with the neighbors, looked like she looking a new husband, you know, to replace him. And boom, the incident happened. So he hit Mary. After hitting Mary now, he starts to apologize. He said that, you know, it won't happen again. He just got frustrated because what happened today and he don't know why he did that. And then he started to say, but you know what, you were wrong. Why were you talking to him? You should have been home, you know, comforting me. I just lost my job, you know, you should have been a tower of strength because that is your role, you know. And Mary started to make excuses and say, oh, you know, that is true. That is my role. I did a bad thing. I shouldn't have been talking to him, you know. If I was inside and all of this wouldn't happen. And then the calm period, so John goes out to buy some lovely roses for Mary and he sits up Mary and Mary say, you know what, it's a one-time situation. If I never made John unhappy, he wouldn't have done this. Until next week, John says Mary, the taxi man, and the cycles continue again. And so Mary said to herself in the calm period that, it makes no sense me reporting the matter to the police because, it's just a one-off situation. And, where am I going to live? And I don't have any support. So it's best if I just keep it to myself. So there's some red flag of an abusive relationship. Some red flag may include insult you in private and public, also check on you very frequently, threaten to harm your family and friends, want to make you engage in uncomfortable sexual activity, try to control your money, limit your movement, and blame you for the abuse. And we all know what a healthy and an unhealthy relationship looks like. There are also some effects on domestic violence. Some effects on domestic violence may include as insomnia, the person's unable to sleep because they're thinking about the situation. And even when they leave the situation, they're reflecting on the situation that they were in, in the nights that the man will come to them, have the knife at the neck and say, if you leave me, I will kill you. So they think about situations like that. They think about the abuse, why they stayed in the abuse so long, and it traumatized them in regards to other issues. So they may have low self-esteem, unable to trust persons. So with the low self-esteem now, it impacts their self-worth. They think that, it's better if I stay with this individual, because if I go outside of being with somebody else, then nobody will love me as much as he has loved, because he tells me that, I am the only one that found you beautiful. And you start to think about this thing, because you've been with this person for so long, and you start to believe these things. As well as it's interesting to know that we have found that low self-esteem and lack of family support are one of the two important keys that persons can become victim of domestic violence. When they don't have the family support and the low self-esteem, not knowing your self-worth and value, then that also impacts an individual. And depression, so you start to think about the situation and become depressed, and may lead to suicidal tendency. You decide that, if I end my life, this is the best thing, because, there's no hope for me. You start to think about a situation like that, and it may lead to death. And that is one of the things that as a society, this is where we come into play. We need to reduce the number of victims that may fall into domestic violence, as well as may lead to low work productivity. So the individual goes to work and they don't feel, passionate about the job anymore because of the situation, as well as may lead to HIV, AIDS, and any other sexual transmitted infection and diseases, because the partner is going outside and having unprotected sex, and they come back in the home and they want to have unprotected sex with you, and the individual may lead up to these diseases or infection. As well as a breakdown in communication. So you can't express yourself based on the situation that you were in. Your partner decided that you shouldn't speak to him. So when you're speaking to persons, you look down and you feel timid and shy, not able to, speak, express yourself vocally, as well as it may lead to prostitution, fear of sexual intimacy, and miscarriages. So why don't the survivors leave? So fear of retaliation, fear of the fact that the partner will come and they will stalk you and so forth. So they said, I'm not going to leave. And that's where other agencies would have come in regards to the police, assisting you with filing the report, and then the next thing of taking out the protection order, as well as lack of economic support. So, you're unemployed and you say that, you're the only person working and you don't have any assistance in, seeking a rental assistance, or you don't know how you can live on your own because, you don't have any family to go to. And that's another means where the Bureau of Gender Affairs come in, where we have our national shelter to facilitate victims who are a victim of intimate partner violence, as well as concern for the kids. So you're concerned that if you leave, because there are two types of abusers. One that will abuse the children and the partner, or one that will abuse only the partner, not the children. So if you're looking at an abuser that will abuse both the partner and the children, in fear if you leave them with the partner, then the child will be the one that is feeling the effect, as well as love and hope that the partner will change. That is another reason why the survivors don't leave as well. And I will say to this, persons who are perpetrators, where victim wants themselves and they need help. They did not get the proper help, so hence they walk around and they need assistance. So until they are given the assistance, then I could see such a thing like that. And not everybody, even though they're given the assistance, will change. And that is a sad reality. And stigma of fear of losing in custody battle with the divorce, because you may say, oh, you know, the perpetrator is the one that have access to money and I don't have the support, so the judge will rule favor to him, as well as lack of support from friends and family. You don't have anybody to turn to, no support system. So because of that, you decide that it's best if you stay. So how can you help a victim become a survivor? Here are some do's and don'ts. Do ask. You see the situation of what's going on, do inquire. Don't wait for the person to come to you, because if I am in an abusive situation, I am not going to be so brave to come and share my situation. So do ask. Express concern. Don't judge and blame the person. Don't say, oh, I know the first time, so why you still in the situation? Listen to the person. Don't pressure him, don't pressure the person to leave their partner. You want the individual to feel so empowered, because if you pressure the person to leave the person and then leave them, they come back to the situation. So you want them to be empowered to leave the situation. So offer help. Do not give advice. I always say to persons, as a counselor, I was trained not to give advice. I've learned in the field not to give advice. What I would say to an individual, give recommendation. These are my recommendations to you. You decide which one you feel is best to take, as well as do support his or her decision. So if the person is not there to leave the partners yet, support her decision and, and say to her, I'm here for you when you need to walk away, because situations like that, I don't want you to end up in, a situation where it may lead to death, but I'm here for you. I'm praying that you will feel empowered, you get what you need to do to leave the individual. Or you can say to the individual, I know that you decided to stay with this individual, but reach out to the Bureau of Gender Affairs, speak to somebody there, speak to the social worker there, so they can guide you as best as possible. And like I said, do not place conditions on the support, because having lack of family, friends and support are one of the biggest issues that most victims we have seen, that they do not have the support, and persons in these situations, they need the support as well. And as I'm closing off, so we are guided by these policies and legislation. We're guided by a national policy for gender equality, as well as your national strategic action for a plan for elimination of gender-based violence, and our Vision 2030 for national development plan in gender sector plan, as well as the legislation of our Child Care and Protection Act, or Sexual Offense Act, or Domestic Violence Act, and Offense Against Persons Act. And if anybody is in an intimate partner violence situation or any form of GBV, they can reach out to the police. They are the first contact in any situation of these, and then they reach out to the Bureau of Gender Affairs, and we have a helpline for male and female that is operational 24 hours. They can contact us on our helpline, as well as there is a crisis. There is a Woman Inc. as well as another source, and there's Victim Services Division and the Child Care and Protection, Child Protection and Family Services agencies.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. James.
Ms. James, please to make me back host. Thank you.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you so much, Ms. James. Awesome presentation. So I'm going to ask you to sit back and relax so that our audience will be able to feed some questions, but a number of things have come from your presentation that I've taken note of. So we'll hear from you again in a little while. So I go back to, I'm going to ask though, is the representative from Women's Inc., is she here? Is there a representative from the Crisis Center? All right. So Inspector Pete, question for you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, and I want to kind of zero in on someone on the intimate partner violence. So somebody reaches out to the police as it relates to intimate partner violence. What's the step? What happens from there? Please guide us through that process.
All right. It may be at the station level. Persons at the station. We have what we call the CSSB.
Yes.
Is one of our community-based offices. But if you go straight through the guard room, there's a supervisor at the guard room. The first person you'll meet would be the station guard or at the reception area.
Sure.
That person will listen to your report, then direct it to the supervisor if it's something that they can deal with at that moment. The supervisor will listen. And we have what we refer to as the interview room, where persons can speak in private and can outline whatever step they want to take. As your presenter before said, we really do not tell persons how to deal with their situation. We do make recommendation. If you want to make your report, we take your statement, we prepare the file, and it is sent to the supervisor's office. And then from there, if it's a matter for the court, then the case file is prepared and sent to court. There might be some matters that are sent through SISOCA. Those involve children, sexual abuse, other abuse as well goes through SISOCA. So those are the steps that are taken. Now, for those matters which we deem as criminal matters, they are for the court. However, there are persons who oftentimes comes in to say, we just want to warn this person. We do not want to go into court. Then there's the option for referral for counseling. Then that is sent off for that way. If you already gave your statement and you decide that I do not want to go to court, the recommendation to the investigator is put the matter to the court. Then you now have that obligation to go to court, tell the judge that I do not wish to go any further. At that point, then a statement will be taken from you in court to say, this is it. You decided that, because you can't really have a matter in court where there's no complainant.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Inspector.
Yes.
You mentioned two things, though.
Yes.
Could you tell us the difference between a report and a statement?
All right, that report is what you walk into the station to say, I was hit, I was sexually abused, verbally abused, I'm being stalked, whatever. That's what you make as a report. So you walk in, you say, this thing is happening. The statement you make is what you're taken to a room. You're asked to give, tell what happened. It's written down. Then you're asked to sign.
Okay.
So once you sign off on that, that's your statement.
Okay.
It has to be signed by you, dated, to say, yes, I give this of my free will, and so on and so forth. So that's
thank you. So the case can't go much further than without a statement.
No, not much further in terms of court.
Sure.
Without the statement, we can advise you. There are agencies that we can refer you, and to say, go to these persons, talk with them to see how best they can help. Because I said before, financial reason, other economic reason, the fear, all of that will, and the person really want to be out of this situation. However, because of all these underlying things, they are fearful of taking that step. So we really have to find other areas for you to deal with it without going to court. But that written statement is what paved the way for court.
Thank you so much for that. And stay put, Inspector. We're not done with you yet. All right, Lloyd. Lloyd?
Yes.
All right, Lloyd. I want you to just tell us what has been your experience as it relates to domestic abuse, and How did you navigate it? How did you, I know you're a survivor. How did you become a survivor? Tell us about that.
Well, as I said, I've been through many different forms, but the most recent one, the one that really opened my eye to what was going on and the cycle that I kept repeating, was an intimate partner relationship that I was in, where he was a narcissist, and narcissistic abuse is something that is pretty widespread, but because we don't speak of it enough, there's a lot that I didn't know about it. So I'm sorry, I think my daughter's crying. So what happened was that the relationship started pretty much like any, well, I shouldn't say like, at the time it seemed like it started like any regular relationship. It was pretty good at the beginning. Looking back, no, after my research and everything, I have learned that it in fact was not normal. There was a lot of love bombing, which is what some abusers do, where they bombard you with affection and acts of kindness and get you, like, draw you into them and make you feel like you are the number one, the best, and you have hit the jackpot with them. And that is where the trauma bonding begins. It's what abusers use to keep hold and to control their victims or their targets. And for me, I was in a relationship for 4 years, almost 4 years, or a little over 4 years. And throughout the process of it, it was a pretty slow moving abusive cycle. It didn't start out at the beginning, the negative aspects of it, that is. And he was not physically abusive, but in many other ways, the abuse was there, emotionally, financially, sexually. One way that he maintained his control was by cutting me off or restricting my access to family or friends, and that's something that is common with abusers. They cut you off from your families and friends and people who care about you. There were incidents where he would tell lies or make up stories about my families and friends to cause arguments. He insisted on getting the contact information for my family members. I am not sure what he did with that, or if he uses that or used it. But throughout the relationship, I was pretty isolated. And when I had gotten pregnant, it escalated a lot more at that point. I would be home alone for days because I had stopped working, and it was as if I was the only person there in the house. I got the silent treatment, which is a form of gaslighting, and it's what abusers use to have you doubt your own reasoning. So the silent treatment, saying that you remember things incorrectly, or saying that you are jealous or obsessive, or saying that something did not happen when in reality it did happen, or they cause you to question your own judgment and your own reasoning, and that in turn, like it festers in your mind. You start questioning yourself even without them initiating it, and that's something that continues even after the abuse has ended. So what with me, how I managed to leave, to break the cycle, I was speaking with a one of my friends, my best friend, and we have our people in our lives, so whatever happens, we can go and we complain. Those of us who are lucky enough to have those people in our life, because not everyone does. And I would call her and I would tell her what's happening and how I'm feeling. And on one such occasion, she mentioned the word narcissism. She said he sounds like a narcissist. It's like, what is that? So I started started researching about it, and I was just ticking all the boxes. It's like, oh my gosh, I was ticking all the boxes. And even then, I mean, that was not enough for me to leave, because I was bonded in that relationship, like emotionally and psychologically. I did not feel as if there was a way out. I have a pretty large family and a pretty supportive family, but because I had been, they say, brainwashed to believe that there was nobody who could care about me or love me the way that he could, I doubted those bonds that I had with my family and my friends. And even though I had left that relationship multiple times, I still came back. And that's one thing with abusive relationships. It takes an average of 7 times for a victim to leave before they leave for good. It can be more and it can be less. 7 is the average. And for me, I have lost count of the number of times that I left. It wasn't until I woke up one night, I was pregnant at the time, pretty heavily pregnant. Woke up one night and I saw him there at my bedroom door with an 8-inch knife in his hand. And I was pretty calm. I managed to stay pretty calm. And he claimed that he was trying to work up to killing himself. But I know for a fact that he wouldn't, even if he had done that, he wouldn't have gone alone. So I managed to talk him down. I got the knife from him. I got all the knives in the kitchen. I hid them under my mattress and locked the door. He was outside for the rest of the time, but the next morning I packed up and I left. And even though I had left, I had gone to my sister's house, I still went back. I still went back to the house. And I was here for a couple months more. But that was really the eye opener for me. At the time, there were a lot of news reports about women being murdered by their partners. And that was something, it was constantly on the news during that time. And I was pregnant. I refused to be one of that statistic, but at the same time, I was so depressed. I was suicidal. Like a part of me didn't care and a part of me wanted to fight. And there was this internal battle as to what to do, where do I go, what happens next. I am a mother, like how am I going to do this by myself? What is going to happen? I'm not working. And I felt really pretty hopeless. I didn't know about majority of the support systems that were available in Jamaica, the organizations. I knew of Women Inc. And the hotline, the 24-hour hotline. I called, but I mean, there is only so much that they could do. I needed, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't ready. Because you can't, as a previous speaker said, you can't really force someone to leave. They have to decide for themselves that they need to leave and actually make a plan and carry out that plan to leave the abusive relationship. But after I had my daughter and I was in the hospital for a few days, and when I got home, when the time came for me to go home with my daughter, I did not want to go home. I wanted to stay in the hospital. I knew what was waiting for me at home, and I did not want to go home. And it was then that I started like seriously planning my escape, for want of a better word. I was not working. I had family living in the area, but they were not aware of the situation, because in my case and in many abusive cases, in many abusive relationships, the victim feels ashamed, they feel disgusted with themselves, and so they're embarrassed. They don't want to like say, oh, this is happening to me, and I need help. And I think that's something that is somewhat socially ingrained in us, where we're socialized to not ask for help. We're socialized to not speak up when we are being hurt, and to get help. And that's because from a young age, when a child asks for help, when a child speaks up and saying that, oh, mommy, daddy, I feel bad when you say this or you say that, the child is sometimes disciplined for being disrespectful, and that does have a very bad effect on a child. And that consistency of downplaying that child's emotions, that child's feelings, they learn to bury their emotions. They learn to bury what is happening to them when they are hurt. You only want to hear the good things that is going on with me, so that's all you're going to hear. And so we grow up with that mentality. Oh, it's bad, that something bad is happening to me, and it's my fault that something bad is happening to me. And so you don't speak up. So I did not speak up. I didn't tell anyone what was happening besides my best friend. She was the only one who knew. And when I did decide to like tell my family, my sisters, that I need to move, I need somewhere to stay, I need help, I still didn't go into details as to why I wanted, what was happening. And it's just thinking back on the things that I could have and should have said to get the help, it would have made a big difference, because then they would have understood where I was coming from and the help that I needed, and how to help me get the help that I needed. But I made an exit strategy. I got help moving my furniture out of the house. He knew I was leaving, but of course, because I had said that many times before, it wasn't until the truck came that he actually accepted that I was serious this time and I was leaving. And of course, in true narcissistic fashion, he played the emotional roller coaster game. He was angry and said that it was my fault, that everything had gone so badly, it was my fault, that he behaved the way he did, or he did the things that he did. And then when he realized that wasn't working, he threatened to kill himself, to hurt himself. And of course, I've heard that one so many times before. There's nothing that I could do about that besides calling recommending him to call someone to talk to, or to go to the hospital. And when he realized that wasn't working, then the tears started. He got very emotional, started begging and promising to change, and just the regular. It's sad to say that it's the regular cycle, but this is what narcissists do. With all the women that I've spoken to who have gone through something like this with a narcissist, the stories are almost always the same. Even the lies they tell, the things that they say are almost the same, almost word for word. And so when I had left, I'd gone to live with my sister. He wasn't in contact as much. And that is one of the things that I have learned to get on the path to healing. especially with a narcissistic abuser, you have to do no contact. In a lot of cases, it's not possible, especially if children are involved. But when you go no contact, then it starves them of the fuel they need, because if they don't have you to control, then they are going to find another victim, unfortunately. And then they will eventually leave you alone for some time until they feel like they can reel you back in. So I had been living with my sister for a few months, working on and off, call centers and online jobs and various odd jobs. But it wasn't getting me anywhere. I didn't feel as if I was accomplishing anything or moving on. By the time my daughter was 1, I still didn't have a job. I was still living with my sister. I needed to like give up that space because they have a small home. And I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to Women's Inc. I got a meeting with them, a counseling session, and we spoke of different ways that I could earn an income for myself, different things that I could do, different opportunities that might be out there for me, and just who I could reach out to for help, which is mainly centered around family and friends, because Women's Inc., they just did not have the resources that I needed at the time to really help me in the way that I needed the help. I needed help finding somewhere to live, finding a good job. I just needed a lot of help. And Women's Inc. just do not have the resources to provide that for a woman. It may be different now, and the representative here, she can correct me if I'm wrong, but speaking from someone who has reached out to them for help, and they've done their absolute best to help me, it just wasn't enough. So I went there. Yes, we had this very inspiring conversation. I felt a little better. I had a shoulder to cry on for about 2 hours or so, and I had a plan. But then when I left with that plan in my hand, I was still feeling very lost, very hopeless. Because I was at rock bottom, I was so depressed. I had taught myself to crochet, and something I had wanted to do from I was pregnant, but my ex, he convinced me that I would be no good at it. I would never be able to learn it. I would be horrible at it, and I would just give it up. And so I didn't even try. So when I left, I taught myself to crochet, and it made me feel so much better. I made a hat for my daughter, and she wore it to daycare one day, and the aunties there, they started talking about the hat, and I started talking about like why I made it in the first place, and like how it was helping me to feel better from my depression. And that opened up a conversation, that opened up the conversation to speak about domestic violence, to speak about abuse. Some other mommies were there as well, and they joined in the conversation, and it was an eye-opener for me. It's sad how many people around us are victims, are affected by abuse. And I mean, we all walk around with smiles on our faces, and nobody knows what is happening. They want help, they want someone to talk to, but as I said, we don't talk about it as much. It's still taboo, and so everybody just bears that burden by themselves. And that was an eye-opener to me. I shared my experience online. I shared my crochet online, and that started even more conversations, and it kind of blew up from there. I ended up getting orders from the crochet, and it's like, all right, yeah, I want to, this is good, I can make some money off crochet, but I don't want it to be about just crochet. I want to be able to help women who are victims or survivors of domestic abuse, to help them to understand what they're going through, to help them to escape what they're going through, and to help them to heal. And I want to be able to give back to our community, especially Women's Inc. It's been a passion project of mine since I started my business. I am yet to get to the point where I can fully see it through, but I have since launched my business. My business is around 3 years old at this point. I make crocheted jewelry and toys. I started out making bags like this one right here, and now I do things like dolls. I make crocheted dolls and jewelry, and that is to help to bring joy to the women and the children who are affected by domestic violence. I use my work to help to share that feeling of hope that is there. It is my platform to speak on domestic violence, to share my experience, to share the things I've learned. On my social media, we have lives where I do research on different forms of abuse and different aspects of abuse, and I will share it there, and we'll have a conversation about it. And that's it's right now it's a drop in the bucket, but there is so much more that we can do as a community to really help the victims out there. I know I'm speaking from a female's perspective. I am speaking of helping women because I know men are out there, a lot of men are out there who are abused as well by women and do need the help. But speaking from a female point of view, that is my contribution. I believe that everything that I have gone through was a lesson for me. God gave me the strength to endure all of that, to come out on the other side of that, so I can help other people, help other women to escape that as well. In the future, I'm hoping to partner with some of these amazing local institutions like Women's Inc. to really strengthen the support that women need and victims in general need in the country. So yes, that is my story and my experience.
Loy, you are strong. You are awesome. You are amazing. I am really touched by your story, and persons on the platform too. I've been saying that's beautiful. The fact that you have been a source of strength to others. You have authored your story. You have owned it, and you're telling it, and you're making an impact. I don't have a hat right now, but my hat off to you. That's off to you. Yeah, enough respect for that. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to ask one last question. Members on the platform, remember that you can type your questions or your comments in the chat, or you can indicate if you want to come on mic and just speak. You are free to do that. But we'd love to hear from you as well. All right. So yes, and somebody, Miss Mitchell, said that you are strong, you're enough. I salute you. So the comments are coming in. All right, so you can raise your hands as well, because we'd love to hear your nice voices as well. So feel free just to use the raise hand thing, right? Thank you so much. All right, Miss James.
Yes.
You see, many times because Lord mentioned a number of things, how difficult it is to leave, right? Because there's this emotional bond for one. And she mentioned that sometimes the perpetrators, they come around 80%, you know, and they apologize and they sweep them off their feet. But sometimes as outsiders, we are looking in and we become condemnatory, become judgmental, and we blame them then, why doesn't she leave? And for us it's 1, 2, 3, but so many things are happening, right? What are some of the other things that probably women might say to you? I know you mentioned them, but you know, can you validate that is actually so?
Yeah, before I start, I really want to commend Lloyd. Trust me, I'm
Yeah.
sitting here listening to your presentation, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like you have a degree in social work. Because like everything I'm thinking in my head. Yeah, but definitely. And as I said in the presentation, and I'd like that Lloyd emphasized that in regards to there are some abusers that it's just best if you leave. There is no help that can be given to them because based on how they were cultured, and it's in them that this is the way I am, and they won't able to seek help. Being in an abusive situation, as Lloyd had said, the relationship starts really nice. So the guy would be, you know, and you're like, oh my God, I found the man of my dreams. Like, Lord, everything I said I wanted, it is in this man. He's so sweet. Like,
Yes.
I can't believe it. And you're like, oh my God, but regular man is not like this. No, man, so this one's special. He's super nice. And then you get involved with the relationship and something happens. But you overlook that because guess what? Him seem nice. It's just like a bad day, you know. It don't register it until after you start to see it happen over and over, and then you start to think about the situation. But you start to say, no man, there is something I can't help it, because as women, you know, we like to fix things and, you know, make situations better. So we say to ourselves, you know, I can, you know, he just need a little assistance, you know. And him saying we go to counseling, and, you know, and he shows the interest in doing it, you know. But over time, things constantly go back to the situation. And then you start to think about the situation of your kids, and then the possibility of you not growing up in a strong family, you know, so you don't have mommy and daddy say, oh my God, I don't want the same reality to happen to my child. Or if the possibility of you, you know, when you early enter into a relationship and you're trying to think about that, protecting your family, you know, you want the nice, because there are times when he's nice, and when he's bad, it's bad. But you think about the nice moment after a time, and then you said, you know what, it's something that he can get help with. Because we all have problems, you know. You personally, you know, you have issues, so you think that, you know, you overlook everything and say, you know, at the end of the day, there is help and he wants to help, so we can get through it. So think about that, and not thinking that the fact that, as I said, there are some persons, no matter what you do, they won't get the assistance because they won't seek the need to get the assistance, because they said, oh, is something wrong with you? I am perfectly normal. Everything is wrong with you. And they blame you, and you start to think for yourself that, oh, something wrong with me. It's me, it's the fault, you know. All of this happened is because of me. And the kids probably said, but mommy, why won't listen to what daddy say? You become the fault, because the perpetrator will go to the kids and, you know, and say to the kids that, you know, it's your mother is the issue, and, you know, she won't make her family nice, and the child will come to us. Mommy say, if you listen to daddy, all of this won't have to happen, and you start to think about the situation. And then when you don't have the support, because they don't have, a lot of persons don't have a friend to share certain things with them. So, you know, you probably said you don't want to bring your business, and then somebody will spread it to somebody else. So because of that, you don't have no support, and you start to think, and then based on the situation, you said, oh, no, like I said, you don't have any support, especially when it comes on to finances, you decide that you need to stay in the situation. So it's an understandable situation, because evil, a lot of us are in abusive situation and we don't know. It may not be physical, but it starts verbally. So they start to attack you, and you say, oh, because it has not reached physical, you know, it won't go further, but it always starts verbally. So the abuse starts verbally. So the perpetrator comes to you verbally, and it starts to, you know, impact you emotionally. You start to think about yourself based on what he says to you, and it starts there, and it may lead to being physical, as well as in every situation. A woman, women can be the perpetrators, and women are perpetrators, because some women, they will start to attack the man verbally, and the poor man don't know what to do, you know. Him don't know what to do, so him start, you know, him can't say anything back to you, because him say something to you, start cussing and support him, get physical, and then that's how the abuse start. And then probably in her mind, she likes to be, this is a situation that she was raised, was cultured in with her parents, she associates this as being love. She needs to get verbal for him to get physical. And in that situation, both persons need help as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I'm reading some things in the chat. I'm coming, Mrs. Melody, I see your hand up. And somebody says that now I can relate to her story. I can say I have experienced most, if not all, of your experiences. It was not easy to endure, but God did it for me. So that's one comment. And somebody said, Laura Renee, you have a purpose to be here, right? Some more strength to you. And somebody had mentioned earlier on that when Laura mentioned the fact that we are cultured as children, not to speak up or to be assertive, and we are seen as rude. And so it forms who we are as adults for the most part. So somebody saying, yes, we are all in one image because we still have something, some form of abuse. So yes, I commend you for that. Mrs. Melville, I'm coming. One quick thing for Inspector Pete. You mentioned that sometimes the report is made, right? But in your wisdom, you have to make sure that you investigate because the person who makes the report can be the perpetrator as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Because it's will get to the station first, so who feels
Yes.
that they should, you know. So half the time, if I usually place myself at the guard room.
Yes.
If I'm at this guard room and you walk in and you say, you know, myself and my spouse, we had a fight and she started it or whatever she did, you run in now to make that report. My thing is always question him, hold on to him, try to find the spouse, whether by phone, get the patrol to check the house, get an address to locate this person to see what is happening. Because you just never know. You just never know.
Yeah.
So because the person come in, even with wounds or, you know, you can see, you try to get this person to the doctor as well, but you want to know where is the other person? Where is that individual? What is happening?
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Mrs. Melville, your time. Please unmute, Mrs. Melville, unmute.
Go ahead. Good
Yes,
morning.
Go ahead, yes.
Great. Everyone, I will just sit and just listen for the whole day. Inspector Pete, you did a wonderful job, but everybody so far. But I want to zoom in on Loy. She's still a young person and she's a tower of strength.
Yeah.
And I just want to commend her for being so brave to stand before the foe because the world is like, you know what now. But I just want to encourage her as she continues her business. I pray that God will continue to bless her and that she will continue to touch lives. You know, other women, I know there are some men, and I hope that one day to come we can have another forum where we have a male, you know, who could stand and speak like this. But I just want to ask Loy one question. You're a mother and your child is a female. I can imagine that you probably wish she would not, you know, grow up at times. What is your take now as you mold her? You know, she's growing up. I don't know how old she is, but what is your biggest fear in her growing up in taking on a companion?
Wow. She's 4, and I definitely have the fears and anxiety about her growing up. Especially since she's carrying over her teenager stage. But my biggest fear is that I did not prepare her enough for, or prepare her well enough for what is out there. Because you can't control what is in the world. You can't control what other people will do to you. You can only control how you react to it and what you accept. So I try not to dwell on the fears because that is not helpful. What I do is I try to prepare her as best as I can for what is out there. I've experienced a lot of the dark side of what is out there, thankfully not to the extent of some unfortunate people, but based on what I have experienced and learned, I'm able to teach her the tools that she will need from a young age, from a very young age, teach her to set boundaries and to respect other people's boundaries and how to handle when someone oversteps her boundaries. Sometimes it's as simple as like her playing. For example, she has some friends next door who who constantly tease her when they're playing, and she keeps complaining about it. Say, have you told them to stop? Have you told them that you don't like it? And she says yes. So, well, here's what you do. Let them know that you don't like it. Next time they do it, say it to them again. If they continue, you walk away, you leave. You don't have to stay and endure the teasing and the hurtful attitude. Learn to set your boundaries, respect your own boundaries, and teach others to respect your boundaries. Since she's done that, it happened once, she walked away, they've never done it again. You teach your children to how to identify certain behaviors, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. One thing I went live on Instagram the other day, and one thing that we were talking about is how we teach our children to accept certain abusive behaviors and patterns. When I was growing up, I was told that, hey, if a boy drag your hair, if him kick you, if him beat you up, I like him, like you don't do nothing about it. No, we need to stop teaching our little girls that a boy hurts you, doesn't matter if he likes you or not, set your boundaries, let him know it's not acceptable. So these are some of the things that I have been teaching her. And it doesn't matter who it is. If it's a stranger on the street, if it's a family member, if it's me, she has got a new mat in her room, and it's bright and colorful, and it's a foam mat. Mommy, I don't want you to come on my mat with your slippers. And when I did, she shows him. When I did, Mommy, please don't come on my mat with my slippers. And I apologize that I took off my slippers. You teach children how to respectfully disagree, how to respectfully assert themselves. So yeah, I try not to dwell on the fear or to instill the fear. In time, she will. In time, she will learn like more of what is out there. There are things that I cannot protect her from or control. So right now she's still pretty young. She's not experiencing a lot of what is out there. So now is the best time for me to really prepare her for what is out there. So yes.
Lastly, you are speaking publicly. The gentleman is still around? Is he still around? Are you have any fear going anywhere, seeing him, and so on?
He's still around. I mean, we're not living in the same area. I moved to a completely different parish, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he is able to find us if he puts his mind to it. He's not in our lives. There's no communication except the once a year on her birthday, he may or may not call. But that is pretty much the extent of the interaction with us. As I said, I've got no contact. I do not encourage any conversations with him from my side. If he wants to speak with her, if she's okay with it, then fine. I'm not going to stop them from having a relationship, whatever it may be, as long as I am able to protect her from him. So she doesn't visit him. He doesn't see her or is alone with her at any point in time. He hasn't seen her in years. But if it does come to that point, I still wouldn't allow her to be alone with him, or for him to come into our home. And that's just a matter of for our safety, for our own safety. I was afraid for a very long time, but as I said, I try not to dwell on fear. I am a Christian, and I don't think that is a healthy way to live. I mean, it doesn't benefit. It doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit my child. So while I have gone public with my stories and with what I speak of in my business, I have seen where he would create fake accounts on social media and follow my business account. which is where I speak on all of this. When I see them, I block them. I don't interact. So I have gone to the police station, but I haven't, my experience there has not been very good. While I was in the relationship, he had openly threatened to kill me, and I had called the police. Police came to the house, and he was convinced that I had called my police friends to come and shoot him up because my brother and my best friends are police. So he held on to the baby. He was basically using her as a shield because he was convinced that they would just come in and start shooting him. When the police came, he refused to hand her over to me. And the police came. I explained to them what was happening, what he had said. And he admitted it. He said, yes, officer, I did threaten to shoot her. I did threaten to kill them. And I was so shocked. The police turned to him and said, you can just press charges against her if she don't allow you to see the child. And I was so confused, like, I was the one who called you. He's the one who threatened me, and you are siding with him. So at that point, my trust in the system just broke down. I know there are great officers out there. I know that there are protocols and systems in place as to how to deal with these situations now. My guess is he wasn't following protocol, but even though I do have that lingering fear of what may or may not happen as to our safety, I'm very alert when I go out in public, especially when I'm with her. Because they're very unpredictable. Abusers can be very unpredictable. Even after you've left, he has shown up in the area once or twice, but thankfully it wasn't on an aggressive. It wasn't an aggressive situation. But yes, if
Lloyd, we're losing you, not hearing. I think probably internet has, Lloyd?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you now.
Okay, I think my internet is low. My signal is
Sure.
low.
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Okay, so yeah, what I was saying that is that if
All right. All right.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Are you hearing? If she can hear me, I just want to say thanks, and I hope she will continue bloom where she's planted.
Thank you so much for that question, Mrs. Melville.
Yeah.
And remember now, ladies and gentlemen, you're free to type your questions or comments in the chat. And also you can use the raise hand feature here and speak. But Inspector Pete, she mentioned that she had some lingering fears, which are just natural. Is there anything that she can do as it relates to, she mentioned the fact though that, the police came and they said some things. Like you mentioned earlier that officers have been trained. So is that they have been trained in domestic, how to handle these cases now?
Definitely. Not only now, it has been ongoing, that type of training.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, when you're in a situation, you want your outcome. The outcome you seek may not be what we can provide, but it's what you want. When it comes to parenting, once you say to us, he's the father of the child, I put his name on the birth certificate, I let him know he is the father of the child. That now become a matter where you file for custody of your child. The police cannot take the child from one parent and give to another parent. That's not really what we should do. If there is immediate violence at the time, when you look, you see that child is in any form of danger, then you might make that decision. Or if there is another relative who can take that child. That scenario that she mentioned, a threat report, you make that threat report to the police, you go in, you get your receipt, then you're advised to go to court to file that threat. If the threat occur in front of the police, you know, he's boisterous, he's carrying on, and he says, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to chop you, I'm going to do this. It's done in the hearing, in the view of the police. At that time, he can make an arrest. But it wasn't done there. Oftentimes, you advise persons, you know, go to the station, because even if you see the police on the road and you tell them, the receipt is what you use to show that I have made this report, you know, it's progressing to where I want it to go. You have to find yourself at the station. You have to make that report. It has to be written down. Then you go to the court. From there, protection order. The judge will make a decision, because that's one of the things, the restraining order. You know, it comes in there. I mean, as I said, you're in that situation at the time and you feel that, oh, you should have just hold the man, grab the baby, hand over the baby. But once you make it known that he's a parent, I told him he is a father, he is the father. So that matter now become a custody issue if you want to be the sole parent there.
Thank you so much for that. All right, Lloyd? Lloyd,
Yes.
are you back?
Yes, I am back.
All right, somebody has put a question. The person, you're young and you have much to offer. What are your thoughts about future relationships? Or may I ask, has that experience colored how you view relationships going forward?
Yes, it has. It has. It's opened my eyes as to what to look out for toxic relationships. Because what happens is that once you've been a victim, it's easy to fall victim again. So it's important to know what to look out for. So while I'm not completely writing relationships in the future, writing it off, I am taking my time to heal, to learn myself, to know myself, to love myself more, because I was so broken down. I doubted myself. I was taught to hate myself, and so I need to unlearn all of that. You can't. It's my belief, my opinion, that you can't go into a relationship wanting someone to fix you. It's important for you to take that time by yourself to heal. And that doesn't mean you have to be 100% perfect to get into another.
Thank you for that. There's a question I'm going to ask Ms. James, and you might have mentioned it before, but somebody mentioned that they want to know if there is any counseling available to women who have gone through a domestic abuse and are now on their way, on their own, but are still facing emotional issues, right? So can they come to gender affairs and, you know, receive this kind of emotional support?
Two questions I want to do a follow-up on with Inspector Carl as well as with Laura, and then yes, they can come to the Bureau of Gender Affairs. We do offer counseling for persons who are victims of intimate partner violence, be it physical, sexual, emotional, financial. We do offer counseling. To add to Loy, thing that she had said in regards to with the police, I'm wondering if she took out a protection order. That would be another alternative I would say to persons, that it doesn't stop at reporting the matter to the police station. Like Inspector Carl had said, taking out the protection order, because now that you have moved away from the situation, you don't know if he will decide to come and to, you know, seek you out again because you have decided to leave him. So I would say to you, take out a protection order, and in the sense that you taking away the child, it is a legal thing as well. So by taking out the protection order, and the matter should have gone to the court in regards to the custody, then you can say, Your Honor, the reason I had to do that, I had to protect myself and my child because I was in a domestic violence situation. See, we have went to court in this situation, and that's where the reason, because you can be penalized for taking away the child because you have not protected yourself in taking out other legal actions.
All right. Yes, Laurie?
Noted. I wasn't aware of that last part. I did begin taking out a protective order, but I know there was just so much going on. I just didn't follow up with it. I didn't follow through with it. So yeah, I'll definitely work on that. I'll definitely do that.
And we will speak after. You can. I'd left the number, so you can speak after.
Yes, so please connect with Miss James Lloyd, you know, after the program. Thank you so much for that aspect of it, right? But I must tell you, that Lloyd is now an entrepreneur, and she mentioned that she does her thing and she sold the display, and she's also a freelance transcriber, you know? So she has really empowered herself, and she's empowered others. She has ridden above her circumstance, and that's why today she is a survivor. So she has moved from the victim stage, and she's now a survivor, right? So Laura, we wish you all the best with your business. I will know that is therapy for you as well, you know, and power to you for that. And I hope I can get a hat one of these days. I'll give you the design so I can get a nice hat. Remember, Loy, for that. But thank you so much for that, Loy. All right. Remember that you are free to post your questions. But Inspector Pete?
Yes.
Do men turn up for, as a result of intimate partner violence, do they actually turn up and report it?
Yes, they do. Most of the time, if the female comes to report, then they will come up. You know, they'll come to say, you know, I got bitten, I got chopped, she did this, she did that. However, on their own, I got some statistics here. I just speak. It's actually for our division, Manchester.
Manchester, okay.
Yes, and I go through some the stations, they have all the stations, and I just give you a breakdown of male versus female complaints.
Sure.
For Mandeville, we have 9 reports, and that's from April 14th to May 9th. May 19th.
Yes.
We have 4 males reporting and 5 females. For Kendall, we had 1 male reporting, 4 female. Williamsfield, 2 reports, all female.
What next?
Cottage, 2 reports and 2 female. In the small there were 3 males, 5 females. Christiana, that has the most reports, and all 16 reports and all female. Another area with male, Asia, we had 3 reports, 1 male, 2 female. Alligator Pond, 9 reports, 1 male, 8 females. Porous, 5 reports, 2 males, 3 females. So we do have men who are reporting, which is a good thing.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you for that. Yes, Mrs. Melville, your hand is up again. Go ahead.
Just one last statement. Lloyd didn't hear the last thing I said. I wanted her to hear that I said, I wish her well and she's to continue blooming where she's planted.
All right? But that's more power to you, Lloyd. Bloom where you're planted, and I'm sure you're doing that just now, right? Beautiful. All right, do we have any other comments from anyone on the platform? And can I hear your voices as well? I'd love to hear your voices. My social work colleagues, I'd love to hear you. What's your input? What's your experience? Have you experienced anyone who has been victim of domestic violence? How did you work through it? Just let me know what's happening.
Go ahead. Inspector Pete, I just want to say that I enjoy your presentation. You know, as a female cop, I really, really admire you. You don't know that. You know, I know you. And I just want to wish you all the very best and continue to be a role model. Today was great hearing you speaking the way you did. And I know you will continue to do such a wonderful job in the parishes that you are slated to work in. Okay? So God bless you immensely.
Thank you, Mrs. Melvin. And you know, you're one of my go-to persons in the community at the hospital.
Yes.
They're always right there for us.
And I'm still available.
Yes. I'll have to get your number. I think I lost it, but you are one of our go-to persons. So we
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And all that. So thank you very much for your comments.
Yes.
All right. So one last question from Miss James. Miss James, in your initial remarks, you mentioned that there might be some red flags. My words. Could you just remind us of some of these red flags that persons can look out for in the early stage that might just be indicative of someone who might be an abuser?
All right, I will say now, let me share back the screen so persons can actually see it. Miss Wilby, can you allow me to share back the screen?
1 minute.
Sure. So one of the red...
Go ahead.
Sorry. So one of the red flags and if you're with somebody and they threaten you in public and private, they will say harmful stuff to you, that's definitely a red flag. So if them tell us, listen to me, kill you, you know, don't take that lightly. Do not take anything like when somebody say that they will threaten your life and they will threaten your family life or your friends. That's also a red flag. If they decide that, oh, you know what, you need to stay in the house every day because you ever up on the road with a friend, you always go about on the streets and I don't know where you are, that's a red flag that you should definitely take. You're an adult. Why is it that somebody is dictating that you should stay home? You don't need to go out with your friends and so forth. That is definitely a red flag. If you're going out with your friends every minute, where are you? You need to come back home. Or the abuser may as well, they tie up. Some abusers will tie up in the house because they decide that when they go out to work, you should stay home and you should be home. So when they come back home, by them tying you up, they can see that you're home. That is a red flag as well. If somebody wants you to engage in uncomfortable sexual activity, so they see their friend doing something outside and they decide that, oh, they need to spice up the bedroom, but it's something that you don't want to do. And they force you, they're forcing you to have sex with them, forcing you to engage in different sexual activities, that is considered as a red flag. If you want it, it's not a red flag, but if you don't want it, then that is definitely a red flag. Let me see if I can look quickly and tell you. I want to cover all of them. And then there's also the red flag in regards to they're checking on you very frequently. So they constantly, every minute, they're checking on you very frequently. If you go everywhere, every minute, they say if they're checking on you frequently, that is normal. But when it comes obsessive, you see 10 call, 20 call, 15 call in the space of an hour or so, or even for the day, constantly calling, where are you? I need you to answer now. Where are you? Don't you know that I need to report to me? Things like that, that is definitely a red flag. If they're also in regards to blame you for the abuse, oh, is you cause this, you know, you don't see every time I talk to you, you're not listening to me. Every time I'm telling you to do this, you're not listening to me, like you're a child. That is definitely a red flag. If they also in the sense that they want to control your money. So you work and they are in control of your money. That is a red flag. This is not a red flag. If both of you work, let's say you both work 100,000 and you decide that, you know, 50,000 will go to the family and the other 50,000 will stay with me, then that is different. That is not a red flag. But when they say to you, oh, give me all of your money, I must take what you buy. If I should determine that to pay for this and pay for that, that is definitely a red flag. And those are the red flag that persons need to look out for.
Thank you so much, Miss James. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to have our final comments from all of you as we wrap on this one. But I'm going to ask finally, before your comment, Inspector P, just tell me what you think. I mean, domestic intimate partner violence, it has been prevalent even for the past couple of months. Last night, I was watching the news, and I think it was somewhere in Hanover, where this gentleman set ablaze, you know, his ex-girlfriend or ex-partner, and also her business. Do you think that these perpetrators have a fear, or is that they're not thinking at the time that if I do this, because he's on the run now, right? Is it that, you know, they believe that they'll get away? You know, what do you think is happening? They keep doing it in spite of the sensitization, you know, and it's all over the news, but they keep still doing it, because it continues. What do you think, Inspector? Tell us.
I think they believe they will get away, because if you do not have a complainant, you definitely will not have a case.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the ex-spouse was burnt, injured in some way, she may not go forward with the report.
Mm-hmm.
So along that line, so we need persons to speak out. We need person to be observant, family member. Lauren said that her family members didn't see what was happening. They didn't know. I'm not sure if she had not visited, so they didn't, you know, weren't able to look at her, read the language, like she was kept away from them. It's just a case where she hid it so well.
Yeah.
But we have to really look, make note, and sneak in a report here or there on behalf of that individual. It may not lead to court, however, they may be able to get some counseling, you know, somebody who can intervene and talk to that other person. Because sometimes the fear of not report, you know, of reporting or not reporting comes because of dependency. You know, they have to give you financial support. You know, they're the only one. They place themselves as the only one who can help you, who can give you anything, because you're not really worth anything without them. So in this case, you know, it's just to speak out, to continue talking for persons to understand it is not right. You will not get away with it. You know, you have to make that report. You have to come in. And as I said before, there are some things that the persons may expect the police to do, but we can't, because it's not legal, it's not ethical, maybe not even moral. But you in your situation, that's what you want to happen. So education is a part of it. And as I said, from our side, we do our very best to train the police officers who will interact. So if they come and they say they can't do this, you can ask more questions. I mean, I will go into situation. I've had to go into many homes to talk to individuals. I do not make suggestion. I listen to both sides and I encourage, because you cannot take sides. You're going to leave those two persons in the home. So you have to be very careful as to what you see, so that you really don't have an aggravated situation by the time you leave. But male or female, I would say the woman should speak out, both, because men are being abused and in violent ways as well. So both persons just need to speak out to get that support. Like I said earlier, it takes probably 7 attempts for you to go. Maybe that 7 attempt is one every year. So that's 7 additional years in that relationship. It may not be in the 1 month or the 1 week that you decide all 7. So it's gradual, but we really have to reach to this point where persons understand that if I do this and I'm caught, the penalty will be grave. I won't stand a chance. I won't see the light of day. And that's really where we need to get with the conversation.
All right, Inspector Pete, Lloyd typed something that I think is quite pertinent. He said we really need to learn about ways to navigate with the police and judicial system in a safe way. It's not always safe to speak out.
Well, I do understand what the law is how it is set up. There are persons you can speak to. As I said, if you come to the station, that first interaction, you may say, I need to talk with somebody in private. It might be a man who is at the front. You don't want to talk to a man. You may ask to speak to a female. You may ask to speak to a supervisor. You can go right up to the superintendent who is in charge of the various division or sections. You have the CSS. There are persons who really are at the community base. So you can come in and you can talk. You can make reference. I mean, I do understand the fear, and there was a time where the police would be hesitant to get into relationship thing, because the moment you sit, you get all these people together. You must enter this thing in the station diary. Any report you get must be written there. And sometimes that's where it remains because you didn't give a statement, so you don't go further. However, you have to get over the fear of the police in terms of making your report. Because regardless of how they feel when you're telling them the story, granted we're a human being, it might have been something that happened to the individual who you're talking to. You don't know. I don't know. But when you're at that desk, you are the professional. You are to listen and you are to guide this person. You are to refer this person to the correct person where they can get help. So that, but the first step is to get into the station, get into that chair, then we take it from that point. Don't just walk past because you're fearful or because the abuser tell you that I have friends at the station. We all have friends at some station or other. You find a friend as well. So when he's speaking of his friend, you have your friend as well, if that's what it comes down to. And if you're in a particular place, say for example, you're in Mandeville, you don't necessarily have to call a police who is in Mandeville. You can call any police anywhere, just dial a number and call and talk. So if you're fearful of going through that reception station, the reception area door, they may guide you to someone else. They may pick up the phone and call somebody personally and say, listen, I'm sending someone over to you. See what you can do to this person. Just make that call. Wherever it is, whether it's a 119, or I usually advise person, have your station number and speed dial, the one that is closest to you. And if you know some police, have them number too. Call them in the dead of night. If they are not right there to help, they will give you the best person who will listen, who will guide you, who will help you.
All right, thank you for that. And Lloyd, Miss James, make sure you connect with Lloyd, please, after.
I already gave her my contact already.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right. Could I add some other things that Inspector Carl had said?
Sure.
So I was writing down several different points. So it's earlier she had mentioned that a lot of the times persons may come as the victim, but they're actually the abusers. We at the Bureau of Gender Affairs have experienced that several times. They will come with you, tell you the situation, and you're convinced that they are actually the victim. When you turn out, when you investigate and do your necessary check, they are in fact the perpetrators. So with every statement that you get, as the inspector had said, that you have to take everybody's situation, listen very carefully, do not make an assessment at first hand. You have to do your investigation and then you determine what to do, because each situation needs different assessment. as well as in regards to Inspector Carla said it later on. If an individual goes to the police station or recommendation and they're not getting assistance from the initial police, I would say to them, like she had said, speak to a representative of the CSSB. Trust me, they will assist you. Once you speak to a member, or if you're not getting any assistance there, speak to the sub officer. And there's other alternative of the Domestic Violence Eye Care Center, which is under the JCF. They assist persons who are victim of domestic violence. And if you are also, your perpetrator is also a serviceman, they can provide assistance to that needs. They're looking for their contact to give it to you. But in any case, I just post it in the chat as well. And there's the other point in regards to, it is best to speak out. So sometimes different situation will be complex. There are other complex situations in regards to persons that are involved with criminal offenders as well. It's best to speak out to see what is best can assist your situation as well. Different situation needs a different assessment. So Lloyd's situation may be different from other women. So I would always say to person, it is best to speak out. There is a solution to your situation and you won't know unless you speak out. Because you not speaking out, there's a possibility that, you know, you can impact your kids as well. Domestic violence affect the children. If children stay in a domestic violence situation from their younger, they can become victims and perpetrators. Those are one of the means why there are a lot of perpetrators out there. They were involved in domestic disputes and domestic violence situations. So it's best to get the help because they need to protect the family at always. The younger ones looking ahead, they will definitely be impacted.
Thank you, Ms. James. Inspector?
Yes,
Inspector?
yes.
There's a question on the chat. You say, I think I need to raise it. How does one track and follow up a report that is made? Someone has asked that.
All right. The first tracking device you have per se is that receipt you get at the police station. That receipt you get has the officer, the investigator's name. It has a telephone number. It shows the date when you came and made that report. It shows the time. It also shows you what the complaint was about. So use that receipt to contact the station and find out what is happening with that case, with that particular report. Some persons may also, apart from having the receipt, some persons may get to know the investigator and may get an additional telephone number that you can call. Some cases, I remember I was still involved in one case where the matter went to court, an abusive situation as well, and the judge didn't send for the complainant for a while because she was really far out of the space. So what, you know, each time it is mentioned, because you do have case being mentioned over and over in court. So each time it's mentioned, you give feedback to the complainant for them to understand that something is happening. Just wait your turn. The judge will know when to call you into court. But use that receipt, that initial receipt, and follow up, call in to find out what is happening and go to court. If you do go to court, you will know when your matter is for trial. You know, each time you go, they'll give you a date when to return. And if I may say something, what's her name? Miss Jones?
James.
Yes, she had mentioned the intervention centers that the JCF does manage. Currently, there's one.
Inspector Pete, please unmute.
Yes, are you hearing me now?
Yes, we are hearing you now.
Right, I'm saying the intervention centers. Currently, there's one at the Yallis Police Station. There's one in Morant Bay, Constant Spring Police Station, as also the Matilda's Corner Police Station. and there are more to be rolled out before the end of the year. Those centers offer professional counseling, they do referrals, and they also follow up on victims in domestic violence cases. So those are inside those stations. So you can go in, ask to speak to anyone there. The numbers work. I do have numbers for the Matilda's Corner, which I'll repeat. That's 876 978 6003. And for Constant Spring, 876 702 5120 or 5121. And those are the intervention centers, and specifically to deal with domestic violence, you know, the privacy, because persons really, when they're really pushed to come into the station, it takes a lot of strength. They don't want anybody to really see them there, neighbors, you know, friends, somebody from school, things like that. So these centers are really doing a good job in helping persons to become more comfortable in making that report and following through.
Thank you for that. All right. Yes, Mrs. Melville?
I have a little 13-year-old with me who has a question, but just before, I just want to make two quick comments. Miss James, I see that she's very passionate about what she does, and I just wish her well.
Yes.
I just like the vibes. You know, everybody just vibes up.
Vibes,
you know, I really love it. And I'm just saying to you, Miss James, in particularly right now, you know, I grew up, well, everybody know, all of us may have that understanding based on where we are now. We grow up in an era where it says children must be seen and not be heard. I'm so happy. And I just want you guys to reinforce it to the parents when you see them and have to deal one-to-one with them. This is the era where children must be seen and be heard. All right? So that is something that I'm just asking you to continue to help the parents to appreciate. And to Inspector Pete, there are a number of persons who are still in society that they have been abused years ago and are still not coping with it. It's still affecting them. Years ago, I did a case with something, I dealt with something like that. But I remember 3 ladies were in the States. They were all sisters, and they were left in the care of their stepfather. And they joined their mother later, and they were sexually abused. And that man was brought back to Jamaica and was tried and went to prison. Anything like that happens here in Jamaica? And I think the man went back to prison when he was about 80 plus. And the 3 ladies, they were all sisters. They never knew that what was happening to one was happening to the others. But when they grow older and they were able to relate over their teenage years, that all of them had the same common experience. Is there anything like that in Jamaica? So let's say I was abused in my when I was a teenager, and now I am a retired person. Thank God for Jesus. And it's still affecting me. Can I come to the police station and make a report that person is still alive?
Oh, definitely. It has happened, I think, a couple years ago. There was one, maybe in St. Mary, somewhere east. So absolutely, there's no statutory time on sexual abuse. Okay. So the persons are available and want to come forward, definitely.
We have to encourage people to do so and don't sit and, you know, use their own teeth to dig their grave at this late stage. So my 13-year-old now has a question. Say your name.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Morning. And I'm Mrs. Melville's assistant.
Hey.
And I have a question. So if someone abuses a person and they have pushed them to commit suicide, how long would they be convicted into prison, or will they be convicted at all?
That's a powerful question.
Right. She was asking me, so I said, come on online and ask her question.
Inspector Peter, want to answer?
Let me try. As in that case, the would-be accuser would be dead. That's what the complainant then you're saying. Because the person who was abused had not committed suicide.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How many person did she tell, or he, was there a letter that was written? What is there to say that this person will actually contribute to that person committing suicide? Those are all the questions to be asked. It is a case where he actually, because we have had cases where we look at first and think it's suicide and then it's not. But in this case, if it's clearly done, nothing was written. And even if something was written, you really have to have the proof to say this person. But everything can go to the court. We just have to take things to the court and make precedent. We just have to see what works. Never personally hear of a case like that. However, it's something I can explore and can pass on some additional information.
Inspector, I'd like to have your number probably after the program.
Thank you, Sister. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
An awesome question, all right, my friend? All right, so we're going to take a wrap, but first I've been asking how that others can hear about this program. So we have our YouTube channel, and I think the link was typed in the chat. I'm gonna ask Mr. Mason if he could do it again so others can see. But it is HSWAJ TV, right? And you can tune in and you can, look at today's program. You can like and you can also subscribe. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Mason just to put the link again. There it is. So it's on your screen, so you can just log into our YouTube channel and get this program and more. And this is just the beginning of things to come. We are going to make sure that we constantly have a voice and we speak out against issues. We have issues of child abuse, and we want to have a national voice on that as well. We have elder abuse and so many other things happening in our society. And as an association, we shall not remain silent. We shall be a part of the solution. And this forum today is just one of the many things to come. So hats off to all our membership of the Healthcare Social Workers Association of Jamaica. We're the ones who work under the Ministry of Health. So we work in the hospitals and at the health centers. And oh yes, the cases are many. Person might not know about us, but we are here and we have been the quiet giants, and we have been making changes in the lives of individuals and families. But we have seen it fit that today we need to address this issue. It is far-reaching. It affects the children at school. It affects family members. There are persons who suffer in silence. And one thing that I heard Lloyd mention is the fact that she wanted to start her crochet, and then the partner then, demeaned it and belittled her and said that she doesn't make sense. She does it. She's not going to do well at it, And I'm sure that it must have taken some incredible strength right now for Lloyd to kind of rebuild that self-esteem. Because her self-esteem must have been crushed because she gave in to that kind of thing. But Lloyd, I want a final word from you before we go. And I see that you have been awesome. We love you. We appreciate you. Your impact will be far and wide. And I think you're going to just be awesome in helping others heal and recover. And nothing beats experience. You're an author on your own story. You have owned your story and you tell it. And I'm sure that you have come a far way. and we're here to support you. So we love you, Loy. We appreciate you, and God bless you. But give us a final word.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, for inviting me. I enjoyed learning from all of you, and I just want to say that even for those who are not here, it's on YouTube. I'm hoping that others will go and watch it and learn as well. And I want them to know that they are not alone. There are many people out here who are willing to help, who are able to help. Even if it's just a listening ear, that can go a long way. You're not alone. There is hope, and you can find joy after all of this. It's not the end of the road. Too many people end up losing their lives in these situations. And us as a community, we as a community need to share this information. This should not be a taboo topic anymore. So the more we talk about it, the more we encourage others to talk about what is happening, and to learn about domestic violence, about abuse, that's how we stop this. That's how we curb the domestic violence, is by speaking up, talk about it. If you can share your experiences, share your experiences. If you can listen to someone who is going through a hard time, who's going through abuse, listen. If there is some number that you can call, get them counseling, help them to, just rebuild themselves, invite them to church, whatever it is. We can all play our part in our own ways. So if we come at this as a community, there is no way that it can be brushed under the rug. As for me, if there is anyone on here who would like to continue these conversations, I encourage my community to keep talking. We have our conversations on social media and soon on my website. I share information, I share my experiences on there as well. And I, as I said, I sell my handmade products, and that's to help the customer who needs that boost of confidence, who needs that boost of joy. And it is also going into an account which will be going to help other women, other victims of domestic violence who are being helped by a local institution here. So yes, that kitty is building up. So the more items I sell, the more I am able to give back and help in a way that I needed the help, and to help this community.
Awesome. Before I get to Miss James, thanks for that, Loy. So somebody said, Loy, this was impactful, empowering, and encouraging. Our presenters were awesome. And Loy Renee, you are an inspiration. Continue your successful journey. And thank you for reclaiming your destiny onwards and upwards. That's so nice. That's so nice. All right, Miss James, your final word.
So my final word for anybody that I may have not seen your message in the chat and you want to reach out to me, you can contact me on my CUG number. It is 276-7156. That is 276-7156. As well as we at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, we also do presentations in the schools, in the churches, in the communities. If you want us to be a part of that, you can reach out to me, and that definitely won't be an issue.
Thank you. Inspector, final word from you.
All right, this was an excellent session, and it's just on way to let person understand that you're not alone, and all agencies together, we're here to help. Each one, it's a cycle. So where we can, and I did forget earlier to mention the Restorative Justice Center. That's a passion for me as well. And we do partnership with the Restorative Justice Center. They're prepared, they're ready, they're able, and they're eager to go. Although they join the court, oftentimes the police make referral to them as well. So that's another area in which persons can get qualified, able person to assist. So, very good job. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And I want to tell you that this is just only our first conversation of many others to come, right? So I just want the public to listen out because the conversation continues and it intensifies even the more. So thank you so much, Inspector Pete. Really enjoyed your presence, your persona, your smile, your composition, and the confidence in which you communicated with us. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for agreeing to join us in the conversation today.
Thank you.
Ms. James, I see you're busy there typing away now, but you have been.
I am working on the clock while I speak.
Yeah, no, you have been awesome. Thank you for being an awesome presenter. You spoke passionately. You're quite knowledgeable, and your presence has been very good. Thank you so much too for reaching out to Loy. You know, we appreciate it. And, you know, continue to do what you're doing. Continue to make an impact, and may God bless and keep you.
Thanks.
Loy, you have been a gem. You have been a heroine. You have been a voice to the voiceless. You have owned your experience and you have come out the victor. And we thank you so much for what you have been doing, for speaking on behalf of the voiceless, and for empowering others to your story. And I know that greatness is within you, greatness is ahead of you, and your better days are yet to come. So we thank you so much. Continue to take care of your lovely daughter. Continue to stay positive. Continue to be strong. Because most times we are strengthened during time of weakness. And so we thank you so much, Lloyd. You have been a gem and continue to blossom, continue to bloom. All right? And I want to thank all colleagues and all other persons from other agencies, from Jamaica, from the Caribbean, you know, whatever station you are on. You know, we thank you so much for joining the conversation. And we're asking you just to stay tuned. So when next we announce what we are going to do next, you will be the first to join us. God bless you. Have a wonderful day and continue to speak out against domestic violence. Thank you so much and God bless.